What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another beautiful, fun, special edition of the Baumbastic Podcast. I am your host, Andrew Ellis, and we are presented by Natty State Sports. I don't know if you can tell in the background here, but it's a great day here at Natty State HQ. Not a beautiful day at the yard, but the Hogs might have to deal with some rain in Lexington this weekend as they go take on the number 8 Kentucky Wildcats. The vibes are pretty solid with the Arkansas Razorback baseball team at the moment, and we plan to get into all of it, talk all the biggest storylines. We're going to preview the Kentucky series, might touch a little bit on the 2-week midweek series, which is a little bit of a snooze fest against Missouri State, but the Arkansas Razorbacks finished the season undefeated in midweeks for the first time since 2005, so big deal. A lot of cool stuff going on. Like I said, we're really excited to, talk about it all here on the show today. Maybe we'll get some Kentucky fans to pop up in the chat since Kentucky fans, BBN has been so active stalking John Calipari on the internet and arguing with Hog fans. Maybe we'll get a little bit of that going on. I tried to trick them with the title to be like, hey, Arkansas versus Kentucky Showdown is here. Maybe I'll, trick some of the Kentucky fans who don't know they have a baseball team into clicking on this. But hey, we appreciate everyone who is joining us. I see the comments rolling in now. In case you have not figured out yet, this is a live show. This is a live stream podcast. We're going to be mixing it up with the chat as we like to do, as we did on Monday. And let's just get it going, man. I see all the comments rolling in. Before I do start touching on them, I do have to give you a few programming reminders. For one, in case you missed it, this is the 4th Baumbastic Podcast of the week. I see Daniel Shee's in the chat earliest Daniel Shee appearance we've ever seen. But this is our 4th Baumbastic Podcast of the week. It's been a record historic week. On Sunday afternoon, we recapped who did they play last weekend? Florida series. We enjoyed that. We talked a little bit about that. On Monday, we did a live show where we did the live chat, and that was great. Wednesday, I did a really good interview with Hunter Holland, and I don't say really good because it was because of me. It was nothing I did. Hunter Holland's the man, dude. If you did not check out that interview, and you remember Hunter Holland, former left-handed pitcher for Arkansas, who had a great year last year, battled through a ton of injuries. If you did not check that out, you would really enjoy it. Really good guy to talk to, really well-spoken. I've always enjoyed talking to him, so I knew he'd be a good podcast guest, co-host, if you will. But yeah, if you remember Hunter Holland as a player, you'll enjoy it. If you like Arkansas baseball this year and just this is your first year watching, you'll enjoy it. If you're a Reds fan, you'll appreciate seeing one of your future stars play. But it was really cool. He was even in the background. He was at practice, which was interesting. But I really appreciate Hunter Holland jumping on the pod. He told he dropped some bombs there, like not bombs, but he had some funny things to say. Talked about Christian Fouch, talked about Hagen Smith, talked about his own season and some of the struggles injury-wise that he had and what he had to fight through. I don't think many fans really know about all that, but I really feel good about it. I thought it was an awesome interview. I really love talking to him. So if you have not checked that out, wait till this is over because we're going to have a lot of good fun for the next hour or so here, but make sure you go tap in with that. Tell your friends to tap in with that because it's been a productive week at the Baumbastic Podcast. And as I said, we're going through the full week. Today is Thursday. We are previewing the Kentucky series, just chatting, talking about Kendall Diggs, I'm sure, talking about Mason Molina, Colin Fisher, all of y'all's favorite players and all that. But yeah, let's just hop right into it, man. Rumor has it, Hayden Ulmer says, rumor has it he'll be pulling up to Tin Roof tonight. Yes, good to see. We'll look forward to seeing you, Hayden. Also, everyone should be pulling up at Tin Roof tonight if you are in the Fayetteville area. 4 to 6, we will be doing the John Neighbors show there. Natty State Sports, all the guys will be there. All the celebrities, we'll sign autographs. We'll be kissing babies. We'll be doing it all. We're going to be, getting some drinks. It's going to be a good time. We're going to have a good time there on the John Neighbors show. So if you got nothing going on today, pull up at Tin Roof 4 to 6. Maybe we'll hang out a little bit afterwards. Who knows? But looking forward to that. And so appreciate you bringing that up, Hayden. Love that. Brooks Jones wants to know who is going to have the first RBI of the series for us. Kendall Diggs. He's going to have the first RBI of the series. Suck on that. Flying Bacon 1044. I love this. Says, what up, Andrew? You shaving the stash now that your doppelganger Cody Frank shaved his. Yeah, for those that did not catch the midweek series, yesterday Cody Frank pitched a few innings for Arkansas and was missing his beautiful little mustache that had the whiskers, which I thought was, we all loved it, I thought. Cody Frank had not been pitching super well, so maybe he needed to mix up the mojo a little bit. I don't know, but it seems like it. It seems like, let me see if I can fix that. Seems like it worked pretty well for him. He pitched pretty well yesterday until the third inning. No, I'm not going to shave my mustache. I might, if Arkansas's bats struggle again, I might have to shave all this other garbage here and just keep the mustache. But no, the mustache is it's never going away. I will never shave that mustache for as long as y'all know me. Shout out to Curtis Wilkerson, who shaved his head last night, but not his mustache. He still has his mustache. You can see Curtis Wilkerson and Scotty Bordelon, the Palace Boys, at Tin Roof tonight, if you want to fact check me. Ryan McDaniel says, yo, my boy Andrew Ellis. What's up, Ryan McDaniel? Appreciate you joining us here. Mary Ellen says, John Boy breakdown of the Peyton Holt play just dropped. Love that. She was hyping that up last stream, so y'all go check that out. John Boy, I'm sure, was pretty good. Ryan McDaniel says, I missed out on the Colin Fisher and Hunter Dietz news. Do we have anything official? So, okay, let's do a quick little, before we get going here, let's do a quick little injury report. Now, you're not going to like this injury report because, one, it has, some guys missing time and whatever, but also we don't have a ton of details on a lot of these injuries, specifically Colin Fisher's, because it seemed like it happened pretty recently, and we got to also just understand something. Baseball pitchers are always injured. Always injured. You right now, if you go out and you take a rock and you throw it 12 times with this motion, your arm will be sore. Just kind of how it is, man. Like throwing a baseball this overhand is just such an unnatural motion. So these guys always have some type of soreness, some type of weird pain, some type of whatever. And sometimes it can be a little bit tough to figure out. In the case of Hunter Dietz, the freshman left-handed pitcher, who I know everybody is really excited to see this year, you got to see him for about 4 outs, so I hope you enjoyed it. His issue has been they have not found any structural damage on the MRIs or the X-rays. There's no break or anything weird going on. They haven't been able to identify his injury, but every time he throws, he feels a little bit of some soreness in his arm. So they're being cautious with him. DVH basically said the other day, don't expect him to pitch the rest of this year, which if you had just watched this podcast, you would have heard me say that same thing a few days ago. I just think it's really tough to mix in a freshman arm, a power arm, one that you want to take care of. It's really tough to do that down the stretch whenever he's experiencing soreness. He's, only pitched a couple of innings here at the collegiate level, and Arkansas has a, loaded group in the bullpen. So now is not the time to mix in as many freshman arms as you can. Adam Hatchman, he's not pitching this year either, guys. I know Josh Heineman, everyone was asking about him the other day. He's not going to pitch. I just would not expect any of those three guys right there to pitch down the stretch. Colin Fisher, a little bit TBD on that because we just haven't heard anything. DVH said he's not going to pitch this weekend. Wasn't going to pitch in this midweek series. Basically, he didn't specify an injury. He didn't say, it's his elbow or his shoulder or his whatever. He said we'll know more in the next couple of days. So it seems like he's been experiencing some soreness, and they're going to try and get it looked at, whether that's MRIs, whether that's whatever. There's also 9 different types of MRIs you can do. I don't remember all the details of them, but I remember with Brady Tigert, that was pretty much when he was missing time last year. They just gave him MRI after MRI looking for stuff, looking for structural damage. So I think that's what DVH is maybe referencing when he says we'll know more in a couple days. We're going to give these guys all these tests and everything. So long story short, Colin Fisher, don't expect to see him this weekend. Don't expect to see him probably anytime soon. I'd imagine they're going to rest him for a couple weeks there while they try and figure out what's going on. Hunter Dietz likely out for the year. Hatchman, all those other guys I mentioned likely out for the year. Jack Wagner, who got banged up and in mid-at-bat had a weird spasm or something in his leg, maybe a cramp. I don't know if it's a hamstring popping up or whatever, but DVH said on Wednesday that he felt a lot better than he did Tuesday, so I guess that's a good thing. It doesn't seem like it's a serious injury. It just seems like it tightened up on him there. They don't know if it was a spasm or a cramp or whatever, but it does seem like he's going to be all right. And then the big one, of course, Mary Ellen referenced it. Mason Molina. I put him on so he's on the missing list for now. I put Hunter Dietz confirmed, Colin Fisher confirmed, Mason Molina for now. He's expected to travel with Arkansas. I mean, they're traveling as we speak, so I would hope he got on that flight. But Mason Molina is expected, by all indications, is traveling with Arkansas this weekend after not pitching, not being on the roster against Florida. They left it TBA. They did not announce him as the Game 3 starter. Dave Van Horn basically said, we want to make sure he's okay. They're not going to announce him, and it's not foolproof, and it's not set in stone yet. But they want to make sure he's doing okay. So they're gonna work on him, make sure he gets that ankle right, and we'll see. You likely will see him pitch on Sunday if that's when the game plays or whatever. But yeah, Mason Molina, credit to DVH because I kind of called him a liar. I was like, I don't know. It seemed like everything I was hearing and everything that I'd heard from people in and around the program was that Mason Molina's injury was the term I heard was fractured foot a week ago. That seems like it's not, like it was a little bit dramatic. But DVH is basically yeah, he's just messing around with Matt Hobbs, rolled his ankle. It's no big deal. I thought he was kind of underselling it, but it turns out Dave Van Horn knows more about injuries than I do. He knows more about baseball than I do, and he knows more about weather than I do. Credit to that dude. He just keeps nailing it. Every time there's a situation with weather, Dave Van Horn ends up scheduling the game. He ends up getting Arkansas playing at the right time. They end up playing 3 games. Here we are. PK Birdsong said, but before we do that, I want to give a shout out to our boys at Signature Bank. That's funny. I like that. And shout out to Signature Bank. Community-focused banking at its finest. You know what? Screw it, Preston. I'm going to go ahead and throw the graphic up there. Shout out to our boys at Signature Bank. Well, hold on. Let me get you out of the way so we can acknowledge our Signature Bank boys. I wasn't going to do the Signature Bank ad read, but now I'm going to do it. Business-minded, community-focused, 6 locations in the state of Arkansas. www.signature.bank. Yeah, just making sure I got that right. www.signature.bank. Suck on that, Preston. Let's see. Brooks Jones says, what has been your favorite single win so far this year? It would definitely have to be one of the LSU wins. For anybody that has been following this podcast and is familiar with me at all, they know I hate LSU completely. So beating LSU is always going to be my favorite win of the season. I like that game 1 when Kendall Diggs hit the 3-run home run off of Gavin Guidry. That was pretty fun. This game 2 win over LSU was also pretty fun, beating Luke Holman, roughing him up a little bit. Game 3 over LSU was also pretty fun. But I'll tell you what, man, the Oregon State game, watching Hagan pitch in Arlington, in a suite with the lads, that was a lot of fun. That was. I mean, that might have been my favorite one. I don't know, man. There's been a lot of good ones. Arkansas has 39 of them on the year now. Things have been going well. Lot to choose from, but I think that those are kind of the preliminary list. I'm probably forgetting one. Shout out to my boy Daniel Shee. Actually made it for the beginning of the stream. The world is ending. Hey, Daniel Shee, I want to talk to you for a second, Daniel. I'm going to talk to you while I have a few hundred people listening. Daniel, I saw that you and the interns recorded a podcast. When I was coming to set stuff up for this laptop, I was like, what the hell is this hour-long video here that I'm having to sift through? I almost deleted it. But Daniel Shee, friend of Natty State Sports, friend of the Baumbastic Podcast. If you're not familiar with Daniel Shee, that means you have not watched our interview with Ryder Helfrich, which you should do. Go ahead and just look for that and find that. Daniel Shee's the man. I really appreciate everything he brings to the table. The next Bob Holt, some say. I say. Let's see. Daniel B23 says, what do we think about the new hires of Calipari? Well, this is a baseball show, but I'm going to go ahead and answer this, Daniel B. What do I think about it? Nothing, because those guys have been working for like weeks. It was kind of weird when they announced it the way they did. Like Chin Coleman has been recruiting for Arkansas for like multiple weeks now. He's been with Cal on all these, like a lot of these visits that have been happening. You kind of could see him in the background. Like I thought it was a little weird. What I did notice was interesting is that they listed Chin Coleman as an associate head coach, which is funny because Arkansas just hired Kenny Payne a couple weeks ago, and they list him as an associate head coach. We were kind of confused by that. I don't really care that much. I think, the assistant coaching staffs are always kind of weird, but for the most part, nothing like crazy surprising. All 3 of these guys have worked with Cal before, so it makes a lot of sense. I'm all for it. Let's see. Yeah, Maryland says, get Mason Molina off that missing list right now. Look, I have him there for now. I also have Kendall Diggs there for now, but I have him picked as the first RBI of the weekend, so both of those guys could come off the list very shortly. But as of right now, I have not seen Mason Molina throw a baseball to an opponent. So until I do, he's missing. He might be not missing on Sunday, but as of right now, he's missing. Let's see. Ryan McDaniel says, please pay more attention to us than the Natty State channel guys. We are way more important. What does that mean? Pay more attention to us than the Natty State channel guys, huh? I don't know what that means, but I like it. Caden4177 says, I really hope we win this series because if we don't, the Kentucky idiots will flood Twitter trying to take a victory. Don't need to give them any satisfaction or bragging material. No, this is 100% facts. This is 100% facts. And what's funny is so I grew up in Louisiana. I hate LSU, like I said. Fair weather fans, you only hear from them when they win. And Kentucky baseball, I'm sure they have fans that are diehards and all that, but I don't hear a ton of Kentucky baseball fans like ever. Like I follow a lot of college baseball accounts. I follow a lot of SEC baseball accounts. I don't see Kentucky fans talking about baseball much at all. But I'm assuming they've been popping out of the woodworks this year since they have such a good team. Which, by the way, we'll talk a little bit later and get into like a more in-depth look at it. But Kentucky's got a good baseball team. They haven't been playing super well the last couple of weeks. Lost 2 straight series, so I bet they've calmed down a little bit. But yes, you are 100% correct, Caden. If Arkansas loses this series to Kentucky, their fans will absolutely catch wind of it and will start throwing some chirps out here and there. So yeah, I'm with you 100%. Got to take care of business. Let's see. Andrew, Flying Bacon 1044 again says, Andrew, I saw Schlossnagel's interview this week. I know you're an Astros guy. Have you heard any trash cans banging from the dugout, from the Hogs dugout? So what Flying Bacon is referencing is Jim Schlossnagel did an interview, which I believe it was just like a Texas Ags, they're like a weekly coaches show type of thing. I didn't watch it, the full thing. I just saw the clip that everyone else saw. He basically hinted, he was like, hey, there's a team in our league who got busted for having a live feed into the dugout, into the opponent's dugout, and they're hitting 306 at home and 206 on the road. So as soon as he did that, everyone went to Twitter or went to the stats and started trying to break it down. And Arkansas is not 306 at home and 206 on the road, but they're pretty damn close to it. They're like 299 at home and 211 on the road. So it would seem as though he was referencing potentially Arkansas. Georgia, I know, has a pretty drastic split that's like around the parameters he listed. I think there were a couple other teams that were options. What makes it interesting to me is Schlossnagle did not play at Arkansas. Like the A&M did not play at Arkansas this year, which makes me think it was. I mean, one, I think he's talking out of his ass. I'll just go ahead and say that right now. I think he's talking out of his ass. I think if any SEC team had been busted for cheating and having a live dugout feed live feed in the opponent's dugout, we would have heard about it from more than just Jim Schlossnagle. But it does seem like he was throwing out a shot at potentially Arkansas. We'll see. I mean, if Arkansas's been cheating, it hadn't been helping them a ton. But we'll see. They haven't even been hitting that well at home. So, I mean, it is what it is. But I have not heard any trash can banks coming. But the Astros, I'm not going to comment on the Astros' extremely legitimate 2 World Series titles that have happened in the last decade, especially since the Astros got caught cheating and then kept winning, I think all these people are cheating for the most part. In the MLB, I think there's a lot of people that are trying to steal signs and stuff like that. I was talking on the show last week about how Wes Johnson, that was like one of his claims to fame, is his picking up on pitcher signs and stuff like that, which I know is not cheating, but, it's all under the same umbrella. Let's see. Daniel Shee. Shout out to Daniel Shee. He's a Angels fan, which is a really fun thing to be. Mary Ellen, we got breaking news. She says the graphic that Arkansas baseball account just posted begs to differ. Did they announce him as the starter? You're gonna make me pull out my phone on the stream, Mary Ellen. Let me pull out my phone. Did Arkansas baseball really announce Mason Molina? This is breaking news, potentially. Yeah, how about that? Arkansas baseball announced Mason Molina as the starter for Sunday. You know what, Mary Ellen? You know what? There you go. Mason Molina no longer missing. I see everybody is now. I see like 7 different people saying, hey, Arkansas's confirmed Mason Molina. Okay. Preston says, thank you, Signature Bank. We appreciate that. Let's see. Yeah, everybody's asking about the dugout video. I think he was referencing Arkansas or Georgia, which would make a lot of sense. Let me pull up Texas A&M's baseball schedule to see where all they've gone on the road to. Because when coaches complain about stuff, it's almost always because they think they were like robbed of something. So I think it'd be weird if he was referencing Arkansas, considering they have not taken a trip to Arkansas this year. So in SEC play, let's see. In SEC play, A&M has gone to not Georgia. They played Georgia at home. but maybe that's who they were referencing. They've been to Alabama. They played Vanderbilt at home. They've been to South Carolina. They played Auburn at home, and they've been to they played Mississippi State at home, and they hosted Florida. Or no, they went to Florida. Florida's got a chance. I mean, Florida could absolutely be the team because I believe they were one of those teams that had a pretty drastic differential here. Let's see. Ryan McDaniel says, aside from LSU, what SEC baseball team do you hate the most? Mine has to be Ole Miss, with the Tennessee a close second. Ole Miss is my answer, I think. I have a buddy that went to Ole Miss, which I don't talk to him a ton, but I like this buddy, but he epitomizes Ole Miss a little bit, where it's like you have to be a certain type of guy to want to go to Ole Miss, and they're a group that's easy to hate, frankly. Ole Miss baseball has had some good teams over the year. They obviously took a national title from Arkansas in 2022. They've had some postseason battles in 2019, some great SEC series. I think Ole Miss is probably the thing. Let's see. Dalton Cook says, updated take on Roland over White. Updated take on Roland over, like Parker Rowland starting over Hudson White? I think I'm good. On that. Parker Rowland was freaking awesome, though, yesterday. It's a legacy game for Parker Rowland. Anybody else see that? He was like he stole his first career base, had a couple hits, was just causing havoc on the base paths, scored from second twice on like fairly close plays. Love to see that. I do. Let me go ahead and talk about the catchers for a little bit though this weekend, Dalton, if you will. Kentucky is like one of the only SEC teams that actually steals bases. They've got 46 stolen bases in SEC play, so basically about 2 a game. And they've attempted more than twice as many as any other team in the league. So, like, most SEC teams, like, will run if they're playing against a bad catcher. Like, that's pretty much what Arkansas does, frankly. For everyone, every year, someone asks, they're like, hey, is Arkansas going to steal more bases this year? And I'm like, if they play bad catchers, they will. That's when Arkansas steals bases, when they're playing bad catchers, which is why you saw them picking on one of their former boys against Missouri State these past couple days, just saying. But no, I love Parker Rowland, and I think I could see Parker Rowland getting another start this weekend just because I feel like he's veteran, solid defender, throws the ball pretty well. Like, I could see him getting a start. Last week, Arkansas started 3 different catchers in 3 different games, and DVH is saying he doesn't know he's ever done that before. I wouldn't be stunned at all if you saw that again. I think Hudson White is probably Arkansas's best offensive option at this point, which isn't saying a ton with the catcher position. I just mean like in terms of just consistency and whatever. Hudson White's still your best hitting catcher, although Rowland does have a higher batting average than him as of now. He's now 6 of 24. But I think Hudson White is probably the third among those 3 guys in terms of throwing and catching, defensively holding runners on. It's been a real struggle for him in his career, though he did throw someone out last week. I think they're going to probably continue to alternate at that position. I don't think there's a ton of separation between any of these dudes. So I don't know if anybody is like, you're not going to see just Arkansas have one catcher for the rest of the year. Like, that's the guy. They said they weren't going to do that preseason. They're not going to do it now. They're probably not even going to do it in the postseason. I think you just want to keep these guys fresh because I think keeping them fresh is honestly more important than who plays. But I don't think Parker Rowland, no disrespect to him, I just don't think he needs to be the starting catcher every day. But I'm glad that he's playing well with the opportunities he's getting, and I bet he will get another opportunity this weekend. Bobby G says Mississippi State and Vanderbilt meet those stats. Okay, then potentially he was referencing them. A&M has played both of them. That would, I could see that. I could see that. Caden also says maybe probably Georgia cheating. They've already been called out on their pitchers cheating. Yeah, and honestly, like, I love Wes Johnson. Love Wes Johnson. I want Wes Johnson to one day return to the University of Arkansas. I love that guy. I really do, and I respect him a lot. I think he's one of the best minds in baseball, one of the best coaches in baseball, regardless of head coach, pitching coach, any of that. He's not above doing some stuff like this. I'm just going to say, he's just not above doing some stuff like this. So it wouldn't stun me at all. I mean, you all seen the video of the Georgia guy putting the stuff on his glove. He's like hiding in the corner of the bullpen, putting some stuff on his glove. Like, it is what it is, man. Logan Evans wants to know, do we wake up the bats a little bit more this series? I believe we do. I think there's a chance for that. So, okay, I'm going to use this time now, if everyone's okay with it, to talk to you a little bit about Kentucky and kind of what they bring to the table. So for a while, Kentucky's ERA was right there with Arkansas's. Like in SEC play and overall, their ERA was right there with Arkansas, and their opponent's batting average was also right there with Arkansas. And this is obviously when Kentucky was winning a lot, and people were kind of starting to realize they had a good team going. But the one thing that really stuck out to me in that moment, and it still kind of sticks out to me now, they don't strike out a ton of guys. They have only 185 strikeouts in 183 innings during SEC play. So they're like, I believe in the SEC overall, they are last in pitching strikeouts. In conference play, they're like ninth or something like that. But they're not like a super, like stuff-wise, Arkansas's seen better stuff. They saw better stuff against Florida than they will see on the mound from Kentucky this weekend. But Kentucky really doesn't walk a ton of guys, and they have a lot of dudes. Like their number one starter and their number three starter are like sinker, slider type of guys who are just like really trying to get you to ground out a lot, which, can be very effective. And we've seen Arkansas struggle against arms like that. But when I was looking at it at the time, I just remember thinking like there's a little bit of fool's gold here with some of these Kentucky pitching numbers, and we're starting to see that the last few weekends. I think they've given up like 20-plus runs in each of the last two series. They've had a game that just got completely dominated on their pitching staff. So I think there's a little bit of regression to the mean happening with Kentucky over the last couple weeks. We'll see if Arkansas is able to capitalize and kind of keep that going. But I think this Kentucky's pitching staff is good. They throw a ton of strikes. They don't have guys that are like 97, 98. There's a lot of their starters are like 90 to 92, maybe some 93 in there. Not going to like blow you away and miss a ton of bats, but they are pretty effective. But I think what that does is give Arkansas a chance to put the ball in play a lot. And if you allow Arkansas to put the ball in play a lot, they're going to be, they're going to score. That's kind of the key. I think Arkansas is, they're not going to need a ton of runs, but I don't know. Kentucky, we'll talk about them offensively. They obviously can score, and they've been scoring a lot in SEC play. I believe they lead the SEC in batting average, and they're top 3 in slugging as well. I think it's going to be very fascinating to see if Arkansas is able to pitch the way they've been pitching, and if so, I think they just have a little bit more juice offensively and defensively, honestly, because Kentucky also doesn't have a ton of power all throughout their lineup. They have one guy with 14 home runs, but pretty much everyone else is like 4, 5, 6, which is kind of the case with Arkansas too. But I just feel like Arkansas's pitching staff has a little bit more. They have a different level they can reach that Kentucky just doesn't. Like Kentucky is not going to have a game where they just completely shut Arkansas out and they strike them out 14 times. Like they just don't have the kind of arms to do that. Can they frustrate Arkansas? Can they have one of those games where Arkansas grounds out a ton and they have a starting pitcher who has like 47 pitches through 4 innings? That could absolutely happen, and probably will happen at least one game. But I just think ultimately the depth in Kentucky's pitching staff, not the same as Arkansas. The stuff from a just pure velocity and pitchability standpoint is not the same as Arkansas's. And I think they've overachieved a little bit in conference play. In conclusion, Logan, I do think Arkansas is going to swing the bats pretty well this weekend. Although on the road, they really don't do it. And if Jim Schlossnagle is a prophet, then Arkansas can't hit on the road. So we'll see. They haven't scored a ton on the road this year. So I mean, it's absolutely this would be a nice way for Arkansas to tell us to not worry. If they could go out there and swing the bats well against A&M, I would feel a lot better about Arkansas's chances offensively in the postseason. We got to go Dodgers from Logan. What the hell? Gene Carlson, too. Let's go Stros. Woo Pig Sui. I like both of those things. Ryan McDaniel says, Mary Ellen equals Woj/Scotty Bordelon hybrid. I like that. I'm not going to go any further, but I like that. I think she's a little more she talks a little more shit than Scotty, if I had to guess. Let's see. Yeah, L reference. No, the video of that Georgia rubbing sticky stuff on his glove. That along with the allegations that Schlossnagle's throwing out wouldn't stun me if he was talking about Georgia. Kyle Young says Vanderbilt is hitting 306 at home. Okay. What are they hitting on the road? I genuinely don't know. I also looked the other day. Where the hell are y'all finding home road stats? I could not find them suckers anywhere. I literally was looking on and I don't use a ton of stats sites, honestly. I use stats.ncaa.org. I use like the SEC overall and conference play stats. Sometimes I'll use ncaa.com if I'm looking for like leaders on stuff, but none of those sites I just listed, including Arkansas's homepage, does home road splits. So I don't know where y'all found them, honestly, but credit to y'all. Let's see. Jaron Garcia says, I know Kendall Diggs has a messed up shoulder and it's clearly showing in his ability to swing the bat lately. How does DVH get him going? Maybe we need to rest him. Well, they rested him on Tuesday. I bet they will rest him on game 2 of this week against the lefty starter. But I don't know. I mean, I think you rest him against lefties. I think you platoon him at this point. I really do. Unless he really gets it going, which he's very well capable of doing. Historically, he doesn't hit poorly. Like he's pretty fine against lefties. This year, lefties have absolutely running circles on him. So maybe you just don't start him against lefties and see if you can kind of get a groove of just facing righties and maybe getting that shoulder back into place. I really don't know, and I don't know the details of his shoulder injury. It's one of those things like an unanswerable question. I'm sure it's affecting him some, but I don't know still to this day if it is and how much or what the extent is. Who knows? Let's see. Ryan McDaniel says, Ole Miss equals stupid Bieber hair and a stupid preppy polo. Hard to disagree. Caden wants to know, will I get a call-in line like John? No, I really don't want to hear y'all's voices. Nah, that's a joke. But I won't get a call-in line on this show. Likely, I don't imagine. I don't have a burning desire to do it. But John will be taking calls from Tin Roof tonight. So if you can't make it out, give us a ring. And John loves it when people call and don't have a question for him, which happens every now and then, where someone will call and be like, hey, Curtis, what's going on with basketball? And then they'll ask a baseball question or whatever. I really appreciate that. I'm not even joking. So call in and do not ask a question to John. Really appreciate that. Zach Edwards says, Casey Opitz spoiled the hell out of our fan base in terms of the catcher position. Defensively, for sure, yeah. I mean, he's a stud, man. And you think about, I'm guessing you're saying that in response to Kentucky stealing bases and stuff where, back in years past, whereas like if there was a team that really stole bases, they didn't do it against Arkansas, man. I remember Tennessee back in 2019, they were like leading back when, Tony V was really getting them cooking. They were leading the league in stolen bases and stealing as many as all these other guys. And Casey Opitz just kind of shut that down. I think many of y'all probably remember him gunning out Enrique Bradfield Jr. in the SEC tournament. Like he was kind of the kryptonite to all these teams that like to run a little bit. You had to be careful. And so Arkansas has had a lot of really, really good catchers over the years. And I think you'd probably have to go back to like James McCann, honestly, to find a better one than Opitz. Yeah, dude was a stud, man. Let's see. H-Fan says, why not ride Helfrich? Ride Helfrich. Catcher has been a hole, and Ryder hits the ball hard even when he's out. Yeah, man, you're not going to get a disagreement from me when it comes to playing Ryder Helfrich. I think that dude is a monster. I think he doesn't play a ton, but he does something pretty cool just about every other time he plays. He hit a home run that's in the Florida series. He's gotten his chances. I bet he will get at least one start this weekend, whether it's a catcher or DH. It's just a matter of him taking those opportunities and running with it. And he does hit the ball hard, man. And I think he's also a really good catcher. I think he might be the most well-rounded defensive catcher out of all these guys that we've been talking. I mean, not all these guys, including Opitz, but out of Rowland and Hudson White, I think Helfrich is probably the most well-rounded in terms of at the plate, as a catcher, throwing, blocking, receiving, all of it. I think he's just he checks a lot of boxes. And I'll just say this, just because I talk about Ryder Helfrich a lot, and you look at his numbers, I think he's hitting he's not even hitting 2. He's hitting 164 on the year here, which he got robbed of a hit. I feel like the score didn't give him a hit the other day, but it's kind of tough to make the argument that he needs to be playing every day. But I'm kind of right there with you. I think in 10 years, when Ryder Helfrich is playing in the big leagues, it's going to be really funny when we look back and we're like, oh man, that 2024 Arkansas team that couldn't hit. We had Ryder Helfrich sitting on the bench, just like it's funny. And I said this, by the way, for those that followed me in my previous website or my previous line of employment, I said the same thing about Jace Borfin in 2022. I was like, we're going to look back in 10 years and be like, what the hell? Why was Jace Borfin not playing? Dude ended up being like a 5th-round pick last year, was one of the most impactful hitters in the SEC. And Arkansas just didn't even start him in Omaha in 2022. Didn't start him in the entire postseason. It aged pretty poorly, and frankly, in hindsight, it was a bad decision. I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen with Ryder Helfrich, but I think if his career plays out the way that I think it will and, should, I think we will look back and be like, damn, why the hell was Ryder Helfrich not playing in 2024? Ryan McDaniel says, don't forget to like the stream, boys and girls. We appreciate that. And we also appreciate you guys subscribing. If you like what you're seeing, you like the handsome face you're looking at right now, go ahead and subscribe. We subscribe to this channel, subscribe to the main Natty State channel, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast, man. Because, I just read earlier about how I had 4 videos come out this week. I also do want to just talk about this for a second. This video, whenever it's done, will be under the live section of my little tab on the channel. That can be confusing sometimes because normally if I post a video, it just goes right to the videos tab. You click on my channel, you immediately see it. When I go live like this, it doesn't move over, and I don't know why, it just is what it is. But so if you ever are in a position where you miss one of these live streams, just remember that you can find it if you're on the channel under the live tab, and if you're subscribed, it should kind of give you some type of notification, or it should show up in your feed. So all that's good stuff. Definitely appreciate that. Let's see. Yeah, and then Ryan says Kentucky has a pretty good staff. This will be a good test for the offense. It will be a good test for the offense. Hell, it'll be a good test for the pitching staff too, man. Maybe even more so for the pitching staff because these dudes swing it, man. They're hitting .314. They're top 3 in slugging. They're first in the SEC in OBP. They also are 13th in strikeouts in terms of they strike out not at all, hardly at all, and to be also hitting for power the way they are, running the bases the way they are, leading the league in stolen bases, crazy amount of attempts. They're only 1 run behind Texas A&M for leading the league in scoring overall. So, it's not like they're just one of those teams that has a good average that isn't really hitting for power or, is hitting for a ton of power but not scoring a ton of runs necessarily. They kind of are very well-rounded offensively and have done a little bit of everything. I'm looking at this now. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 everyday players hitting .294 or better. That's kind of the story of Kentucky, man. They are well-rounded. It's a full-on group effort. Ryan Nicholson, their first baseman, he has had 14 home runs on the year. He's kind of and they have another guy, Ryan Waldschmidt, who has 9 home runs, but it's not like a bunch of, they don't have a Condone or like a Caglianone where it's like, oh, you got to circle this one guy. But pretty much 1 through 7, it's about as well-rounded a lineup as you'll find in the SEC. A little bit of power, a little bit of speed, not a ton of striking out. So, this is going to be certainly a big test. And I think their pitching staff, again, has overachieved a little bit in SEC play. I don't think they're as good as the numbers indicate, frankly. But, Arkansas struggled a lot offensively, especially on the road. So I would not be stunned at all if they're able to kind of limit this Arkansas team a little bit. So Arkansas is going to have to dig deep, man. I don't think Arkansas can afford to not play good baseball this weekend if they want to win this series. And now I say that, obviously that sounds like a normal, obvious thing to say. Arkansas is a team that can play, just kind of have an all right week of baseball and still win the series against a lot of teams. Hell, they did it against South Carolina on the road. They've proven they can do that. I think Kentucky, they're going to have to play. They're going to probably have to slug their way to a win in one of these games, and I think Kentucky's going to put a lot of pressure on them offensively. GFO Champion Show says Arkansas doesn't strike out much to begin with either. It's the lack of hard contact. Arkansas really has not struck out a ton in SEC play. But yeah, like he says, it's like a lot of early ground outs, a lot of whatever. So that's why this matchup with Kentucky is a little bit like it's almost like tailor made for Arkansas to ground out and soft line out a ton. But I do think that when you're just in a nutshell, when you're a team that doesn't strike people out as a pitching staff, you're playing with fire. And I also just feel like if you have a game where maybe you only give up 1 run, but you only had 4 strikeouts, I just feel like it's not a sustainable formula. So really, for me, it's more just I'm calling Kentucky's bluff more than I'm like, oh, hey, Arkansas is about to rake against these dudes. This is the exact kind of pitching staff Arkansas would struggle against. Let's see. James M. says Kentucky gets on bases, but I believe in our boys. Love that. Flying Bacon 1044 says, glad to see Holt take so well to the outfield. Needs to be everyday center field. Let Edmondson, Lowich platoon left field. I don't disagree with that assessment at all. I think he's done a great job, and it is kind of surprising how well he's adjusted. Like, it was one of those things where it's like, oh, maybe they'll play him in left field, and oh, now he's in center field, and oh, now he might be the everyday center fielder. At this point, I think he should be the everyday center fielder. I'm sure Ty Wilmsmeyer will get his chances. But yeah, Edmondson, Lovich, and Jones, I think there's opportunities, especially with how Diggs has kind of struggled there in right field. And like I said, he might get platooned a little bit against lefties. I think there's plenty of room for guys like Edmondson, Lovich, and Jones to work into those corner spots, especially with Holt, if he's able to really win that center field job. And then, yeah, Flying Bacon follows up. Wilmsmeyer can still be a nice piece off the bench to steal a bag late. 100% agreed. And defensive replacement, 100% always going to be there. My boy Ozzy says, which, by the way, shout out to Ozzy. Choice Hotel, man. What the hell? Gets Ozzy stuck in a hotel elevator and then doesn't want to help him out after. It's messed up. Choice Hotel. Answer for your crimes. We want to hear from you. What the hell? Justice for Ozzy. Everyone go out there and get that trending. But Ozzy says, Kentucky's pitching is fraudulent. Arkansas will take advantage of this and give them the big red weenie 3-0. I love that comment. And, hey, I think their pitching's a little bit fraudulent, so I'm with you there. 3-0 would be optimistic, but you know what? Ozzy, I love it, man. I love that energy, man. Keep bringing that to the chat. Really appreciate that. Logan says, we played Auburn, Alabama, and SEC on the road. Those are really good teams on the road and always are close. Yeah. There you go. And then Flying Bacon follows up with, think Dobbs DVH like Roland's game calling over Helfrich. Ryder giving me some serious Charlie Wells vibe, though. I think I agree with both of those assessments. I think they really trust Parker Rowland from a pitch calling standpoint. And I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's the one case you could really make for. I mean, I think all these guys do a pretty fine job, and I think obviously Matt Hobbs calls in pitches when he really needs to. So for the most part, it's just kind of a matter of that catcher getting a rhythm with that pitcher. But, speaking of the Hunter Holland interview, I was talking to him yesterday. He said as soon as he got to campus, him and Parker Rowland hit it off, and that's immediately what they started talking about, was just how are they going to get certain guys out? What are they going to do in these situations? They were just always talking about that. And I think Parker Rowland is obviously a big-time leader in the clubhouse and a guy that a lot of people respect. So I wouldn't be stunned at all if they really do feel like he puts them in the best position in terms of calling pitches in these big situations. Yeah, hard to disagree. Yeah, Arkansas says Diggs is not only hurt, but it's affecting his ABs. He used to never have a bad AB, and lately he's been swinging at things he never used to chase. For the most part, I think I agree. Not necessarily about him never having bad ABs, but I think that definitely his physical pain led to some struggles, which has also led to him just being a lot more antsy, which is kind of what we talked about on Monday. I think that he's a little bit indecisive up there. The other day, he got a 3-1 fastball and swung through it, and you could see it on his face where he was like, I missed one. Like, it's like I think he's in that mode where it's like he doesn't know what to swing at. Sometimes he's swinging too much. Sometimes he's not swinging enough. Like, I just think he's kind of in his own head a little bit. But there's a lot of season left, and there is a lot of room for Kendall Diggs to catch a rhythm here and really go on a run. And I will not be surprised personally if he does it. Let's see. What's the weather in Kentucky? Bobby G wants to know. So I saw that there's a little bit of an opportunity for some rain tomorrow and Saturday. I just go by the straight up weather app. I'll check tomorrow because I feel like, and I took a meteorology class in college, made a 110 on that. And I remember my professor saying that anything, if you're trying to predict weather, anything past 48 hours is a complete crapshoot, is what she said. It's basically just all farmers' almanacs and kind of hoping you can catch fire here. But, it's really tough to tell with weather until like 24 hours out. Like, it really is kind of tough. So we'll see how it plays out. They haven't announced anything yet unless I missed another one. Unless I missed the announcement, it just seems like they're on track to play 3 games, but I don't know. Might have to mix it around a little bit. I would really appreciate if there were not a doubleheader. I'm so sick of watching doubleheaders, and I just feel like it ruins the product a little bit, and it almost always ends up in a split. And if Ozzy's a prophet, I want Arkansas to go ahead and sweep. JT Hazelwood says, "What's up, pal? What's up, JT? Appreciate you hopping in always." Ryan Daniel says, "Wilmsbar is a good defender, and I trust him in the outfield more than anyone, but he may be the worst offensive non-catcher I've seen be an everyday player at Arkansas." There's been a couple in recent memory who would like to have a word with you. But I mean, look, Wilmsmeyer's a better hitter than he's shown this year. But since he got to Fayetteville, he has just not hit. It wasn't in the fall. He didn't hit in the fall, didn't hit in the spring leading up to the season, has not hit during the season. I just don't think he's an offensive threat, which is fine. But I think that it's just time to call it what it is. H-Fan wants to know, why is Ozzy using an elevator for a 2-story building? Is that true? Was it really a 2-story building? That's tough to get stuck in the elevator when it's just two stories, but, it happens. It happens. Arkansas says, "I live in Austin and looking at the ticks for the Texas A&M series, and they are currently going for $300 right now." Yeah, that's going to be a big time one. That's going to be a very fun series to watch, and that could have a lot of implications in terms of like national seeds, SEC regular season. Plus, I don't know how much that park seats. I think it's around 10K, but a little bit less than Baum and Alex Box and some of these other bigger ones. So I think, I could see those ticket prices being pretty crazy. It's very well could be number 1 versus number 2. I mean, if it were played this weekend, it would be. You don't see that in baseball a ton, really. Number 1 versus number 2 have a 3-game series. I mean, I feel like it happens in football like every other year. But yeah, you don't see that in baseball too much. But that'll be a lot of fun, and I think that'll be a big series. Like having a series like that late in the year, to just get eyeballs on this team, to get people watching. I'm sure, I haven't even looked at the schedule, but I'm assuming at least one of those games nationally televised. Maybe we'll get a little bump and they'll televise a few more, but that's going to be a really fun series. Number 1, number 2. Hopefully it stays that way, because that would be cool. That would be a really cool series to cover and for us to talk about and vibe about. And I'm sure the fan bases are going to enjoy heating up for that one. I also want to tell a funny story. So last year when I worked at a different place of employment, we used to have these little game threads that we would do, and I remember Arkansas played A&M in the SEC tournament, and A&M won a close game. Well, they played twice. Kendall Diggs had a walk-off home run against them in one of the games, and then they played a couple days later in the single elimination portion, and Arkansas lost. And I remember saying, like, hey, I think this is a good thing for Arkansas, just because, you came to the tournament, you did what you had to do, like, it is what it is. Probably best for Arkansas. A&M fans found that and were like, this clown, this frat boy, this guy's a fanboy, man. He's so pissed off that we beat his team in baseball, blah, blah, blah. And we're like they started like a 10-page thread just roasting me up. And so, of course, I just hopped in there and started talking some stuff. And I was like, hey, look, me and my squad, we're worried about bigger things. It is what it is. We're not worried about this little SEC tournament. You guys needed it to get in the tournament. We didn't. So we're just moving on. A&M sucked last year, too. But, of course, they returned the favor and dunked on me when Arkansas got knocked out of the postseason a week later, which is a little bit tough. But, you live and you learn. And also, I still stand by my initial take, which is that the SEC tournament's stupid. Like, they thought I was, like, actually upset about an SEC tournament loss. I will never be, ever. You will never, for as long as I do this show, this is year 1, but we're going to do this for the next 100, you will never, ever, ever catch me being upset about an SEC tournament game. Let's see. Ryan McDaniel says, we won the SEC with Roland last year. O was much better overall, and we could absorb a soft spot in the lineup better than we can this year. Yeah, those are true statements there. And I mean, Parker Rowland's not a bad. Parker Rowland. I mean, if Arkansas had just simply run it back and brought back Parker Rowland as a starting catcher with Ryder Helfrich there, kind of working for it, it would have been perfectly fine. Like nobody would have had an issue. I think he's very overqualified for the role he's at now, and he's a nice little guy to have. But yeah, I agree, and that's kind of you mentioned being able to absorb a soft spot in the lineup. And how this year's team really isn't equipped to do that as much as last year's team was, at least in certain spots. Last year's team kind of punted on having an offensive shortstop and punted on an offensive catcher, but they had a dominant offensive outfield. You obviously had a really good third baseman also. It was just a little bit different situation. Arkansas's got a much better hitting shortstop this year, and they've gotten a little bit more offensive production out of their catcher. But their outfield is just really not hit the same. And if your corner outfield spots are ambivalent in terms of hitting, and if Wilms Myers in center field, you really can't afford to also not get anything out of your catcher or your shortstop. So thank God Vahiva Aloy is Vahiva Aloy. But yeah, it's just a little bit tougher, man. But I think overall Arkansas has the pieces to be a good lineup. It just, I don't anticipate it will be a everyday, like there's going to be a moment where it's like, all right, here are 9 guys. We're good. This is the lineup. We're good forever. I think it's always going to kind of evolve a little bit. Let's see. H-Fan says Diggs is 1 home run away from last year's Diggs. I guess he means like if he hits a home run, then he'll kind of get that groove back. I think I, for the most part, agree. Like I think it's not going to – everybody's always like, oh, he's struggling. Yeah, but what if he goes 6 for 18 this weekend? You know what I mean? Like none of his struggles these last few weeks matter until like once the postseason rolls around, it's just kind of who's the best players on your team. As of right now, I still absolutely believe Kendall Diggs is in that list and deserves to start. Now, if he doesn't hit between now and like Hoover or the NCAA tournament, then we can really like, make a decision. But in terms of right now, it's like get those struggles out now. Get them out now. We'll see. I don't think it's going to take much to get this dude back on track. So I agree with you, H-Fan. Let's see. Austin R 1995 says, would you consider one win in both UK A&M series and a series win versus Mississippi State a win? So okay, let me see if I'm getting this right. So if Arkansas were to go 1-2 this weekend, beat Mississippi State 2 out of 3, and then go 1-2 against A&M, I think that would be enough for Arkansas to be a national seed. Would I consider it a win? Like in I don't know. I mean, probably not, just because I think this team should be, I think they should beat Kentucky in a series. I really do. I'm not going to lose sleep if they lose a series against A&M, especially on the road. So, I mean, ultimately, I probably would actually consider it a win, as long as it's not like ugly. As long as I'm not like losing faith that this team is going to be able to make a run. But I don't know. I would really like to see Arkansas play well down the stretch. But so if they were going to 4-5 in the next 3 weekends, I wouldn't consider it a win. No. I would accept it and wouldn't lose sleep over it, and it would get Arkansas a top 8 seed. I would not consider it a win, though. I think Arkansas needs to, if they go 5-4, I'll consider it a win, but not 4-5. Not 4-5. Chad Gregory says the Blue Bell capacity is 6,100, so half of Arkansas is just about. Interesting. Ryan McDaniel says we got a national game this weekend, right? Game 2 on ESPN2. I don't think it's this weekend. I could be wrong. I don't think this weekend they're on TV. Does it say it anywhere? Does anybody have that pulled up? Someone answer in the chat. I don't think any of the games this weekend are nationally televised. I could be wrong, but last I checked, they were not. Griffin Underwood says, I think we see Roland starting a lot in the postseason, especially if his bat continues to produce. Guys, I got to be honest. I did not expect today to be the Parker Roland coronation. Y'all were really moved by that Wednesday afternoon game against Missouri State. Jeez. I love Parker Roland. You're never going to catch me saying anything bad about Parker Roland, so I'm not going to disagree with you guys. But freaking relax, man. Just a little bit. L says, should DVH be done with Missouri transfers? Yes, but not Kansas transfers. Missouri. But also, I'll say this, with Ross Lovich, one, he's not that bad. He's just a solid 4th outfielder. That's what he is. It's kind of what he was brought in to be. He's actually been pretty much exactly what he was supposed to be. Wilmsmeyer is the one who's been a disappointment. I shouldn't say stuff like that. I'm sorry, Ty. You're a good guy. I like you. You're a good defender. I shouldn't say disappointment. Shouldn't use terms like that. But Lovich, the interesting thing with him though is obviously he's got a brother at Missouri who's like hitting in the middle of the lineup. Potentially could enter the portal. Who knows? Also has a little brother signed to Arkansas that's going to be on campus next year. If either one of those guys comes to Arkansas and does anything halfway worth a damn, then Lovich did his part, So then in that case, no. And I don't think, and I mean, you say, should he be done with Missouri transfers? If the other Lovich kid that's currently there now, Jackson Lovich, if he wants to come, I think they'll let him come, and I think they should. But in a nutshell, though, sure. Let's see. Flying Bacon says, read an article from Mike Rooney about revamping the NCAA baseball tournament format, going from 16 4-team regionals to 32 2-team regionals. Whew. I actually, you know what? I like 32 2-team regionals. I just like 3-game series. I like 3-game series. Sue me. I'm a fan of it. And I think the regional format, it's just kind of something we've done forever. And like, I don't have like a real issue with it. It creates a lot of fun, a lot of parity in college baseball. But yeah, I don't hate that at all. I actually would probably prefer. So I'm trying to think. They're doing 3-game series, so that would cut it down to 32. That would just extend the week of the postseason, so it'd be a 4-week thing, I guess, or 5-week counting Omaha. Yeah, that's interesting. But I don't know. Part of why also it kind of works is you have a regional format basically in Omaha. So maybe that's like why they do it, like regional, super regional, kind of another regional format where it's double elimination. But I don't know. Yeah, I kind of like the 3-game series situation. How much better would y'all feel about this Arkansas team if like that's what it took to get to Omaha, was just win 3-game series? But I don't know. I guess you'd have to win 3. I don't know. You caught me off guard. I wasn't prepared. I didn't know about this at all, and I was not prepared. But I kind of like that. And he says, like the idea of not having to hold your ace for game 2, and think it would help the Hogs with how consistent they always are on winning weekend series. Yeah, and I think it's just a more like a 3-game series to me. Like, I just enjoy it. I feel like it's a very firm and like fair way to determine who's better. Like, I just feel like it works. And yeah, you wouldn't have to make those weird decisions and you wouldn't have to have a situation where like, oh, we might have to win 5 straight games, and like, I get it. Like those things are fun, but it pretty much like the regional format has effectively made it to where if you lose either of those first 2 games, you're toast. And that probably shouldn't be the case. I like the 3-game series. So I'm with Mike Rooney. Let's do it. Yes. Okay. Right. So H-Fan says, yes, I meant he will find his groove. I agree. And Ryan says, we are rolling with Diggs regardless, ride or die. I'm kind of there too. It's like, dude, Kendall Diggs has earned the right. Who the hell are we to tell Kendall Diggs when he needs to hit and when, he's earned the right. He's done enough for Arkansas. He's earned the benefit of the doubt. So it is kind of crazy to me. Fans do this a lot, and like, I'm not knocking anybody, but where it's like, they're like, oh, how can you play so-and-so? How can you do this? It's like, guys have benefit of the doubt, man. It just is what it is. I mean, Kevin Kopps in 2020 sucked. Had like a 9 ERA and was just horrible. He probably wasn't even going to travel that year. I'm sure a lot of people could have said in that offseason, why bring him back, huh? Why bring him back, huh? You're never as good as you seem. You're never as bad as you seem. And Kendall Diggs does seem pretty bad at the moment. Let's just be real. He does. But I'm not ready to give up on Kendall Diggs by any means. I think he's got a chance to get it going, but he does need to be healthy. If he's not healthy, they do need to rest him. But we'll see how it plays out. I'm going to roll, like, whatever DVH chooses, I am going to just co-sign and roll with that. So if he gives up on Kendall Diggs, then I will. But not really. We love you, Kendall Diggs. H-Fan, in response to the other question, it says, will we consider 4 and 5? He says, not a win. We're Arkansas baseball. Losing is not a win. There you go. I actually respect that. And I kind of agree where it's like, would I be upset if Arkansas lost the series against Kentucky and lost the series against A&M? No. And I don't think anybody should be like freaking out. But I also wouldn't consider it a win. Losing's not a win. That's fair enough. Couldn't have said it better myself. In fact, I didn't say it better myself. Ryan McDaniel says, bullpen struggles. Just a bad stretch, or is this who the pen really is? What do you mean by bad stretch here? Because, Gabe Gackle, still very good. Christian Fouch has just still been pretty good. I feel like they've actually had a lot of pieces the last couple of weeks develop into some nice pieces. The piece I'm kind of worried about, now, Will McIntyre has stunk, but it seemed like he had a nice little inning there on Tuesday. So maybe he's on the way back. But I think the Arkansas bullpen's been pretty solid here lately. They've been the best pitching staff in the country all year. Are you referencing the midweek games? Because if so, don't. I wouldn't be worried too much about that, because I think a lot of those arms, especially like the arms that pitched yesterday, are probably not going to be pitching at all moving forward. I mean, maybe here and there, but I think they just had to get through a midweek series the best they could. But for the most part, I feel like Arkansas's bullpen's been pretty lights out. I mean, even the game that Will McIntyre stunk in, they came back and got it working, and they got Christian Fouch a big save there. Stone Hewlett's been pretty good. I feel like Arkansas bullpen's been good all year, so I'm a little bit confused by the question. And then H-Fan says all three are on SEC Plus. Yes. Let's see. Eli Lovich. Yeah, Eli's the young one. Eli's the young one. I think Jackson is the one at Missouri, and then Ross is the one at Arkansas. But yeah, Eli Lovich, apparently a pretty good prospect in his class. If he does anything or the other kid transfers, Ross Lovich has done his part. He has done his part. Okay, now Griffin says, who do you trust most out of the pen besides Gackle as of now? The answer might still be Will McIntyre. It really might be. Obviously, there are more talented options. Christian Fouch has been pitching really well. Stone Hewlett's been awesome. Jake Faraday has really good stuff. There's guys that do things, but I still think just gun to my head, I think Will McIntyre, I still trust him a good bit, and he's earned a lot of that benefit of the doubt. But besides them, Gage Wood is interesting. I'm interested to see. I was about to make a Gage Wood point, but I'm going to go ahead and say it now. I'll be interested. So Gage Wood threw really well on Tuesday, getting his first career start. I believe he went 3 innings. Let me fact check that real quick. He did. He went 3 innings, struck out 4, just a 1 hit, little opposite field single. I thought Gage threw the ball really well. He's been throwing a ton of strikes lately. His stuff seems to be pretty good. He touched 96 the other day against Florida. I trust him a lot. I don't know if I would say I trust him more than Will McIntyre, just in a nutshell. But I'll be interested to see what it looks like for him if, it seems like Mason Molina's starting on Sunday. How does Gage look out of the bullpen after getting that starting nod and showing putting together a nice performance, and which could be a factor for Arkansas down the stretch, especially since the regional format does still exist. They might need someone to start a game here or there. Could Gage Wood get that bump? Who knows? But also, what will he look like as he returns to the bullpen this weekend? I think that's it's a fascinating situation, and he could be the answer to who I trust besides Gabe Gackle. But ultimately, I still will just go Will McIntyre. I think he's gonna have to rattle off a couple more stinkers before I lose full faith in him. Flying Bacon says Vahiva's bro is having a big freshman year at BYU. Bring him next year with the Lovich bros. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of buzz about Vahiva's brother, and DVH was joking the other day about how Vahiva and Nolan are going to have to help him land the next big Hawaii prospect. They've got to vouch for him, which I thought was really funny. Let's check in on Mr. Kahuya Aloy. He is hitting .272 at BYU with 6 home runs, 34 RBI, 7 doubles. Strikes out a lot, as the Vahiva Aloy boys tend to do. Doesn't walk a ton. What position is he playing? Does anybody know what position Vahiva Aloy's brother, who is the spelling on it is Kuhio. He does seem to be one of BYU's better players, but BYU appears to be pretty bad. I think Arkansas will be after a lot of people in the transfer portal. Who knows? Maybe this kid and they end up throwing him a bone. But I think people also need to remember Arkansas baseball is not an easy place to come start at. It's just not. But it'd be cool. It would be pretty cool to have the Island boys out there. Let's see. Yeah, now this is a great point. There's a couple really good points made here by Champion Show. He said there's nobody knocking on the door to take Dig's spot. The other dudes are struggling too. I'm glad you said that. That's a great point, because everyone always says oh, bench him. Who are you benching him for? Ross Lovich? Yeah, maybe he's gotten some spot starts here and there. Jason Jones, who has also had his fair share of struggles. Ty Wilmsmeyer, Will Edmondson. Who is it that you're oh yeah, we gotta get Diggs out of there. Gotta have Will Edmondson, who's 0 for his last 17 in there. You know what I mean? It's not just as simple as, hey, this guy sucks, get him out. This guy sucks, get him out. This guy's bad, get him out. This guy's good, get him in. It's sometimes there's some nuance here. So let's just let it play out, man. Let's let it play out. Let's see. Ryan McDaniel says Frank, McIntyre, Gage before the midweek. Cody Frank, I talked about Cody Frank on Monday. I like Cody Frank a lot. My mustache bro got engaged at Baum Walker Stadium. Is what it is. Cody Frank is not necessarily a high leverage arm for Arkansas. He's more of a if you're up 7-1 and you need to kill a few innings, you throw him in there. Or if you're down 6-2 and you're kind of waiting on your offense to get it going, you throw him out there. He's an innings eater. He's not necessarily like a guy that's been used in a ton of high leverage situations here the last couple months. And I thought he threw the ball pretty well yesterday for the most part. I thought Willie Mack threw the ball pretty well on Tuesday. And obviously we've seen what Will McIntyre has done. So it's again, same with the Kendall Diggs thing. We can evaluate the last few weeks for what they are. Kendall Diggs has struggled. Will McIntyre has struggled. But there's also a much larger sample size of those guys being good. So I'm not really ready to give up on it. And I thought Gage Wood threw the ball really well on Tuesday. So, overall for the most part, and the bullpen's been pretty solid. I mean, Gackel's about as good of a closer as you can have. Fouch has been really good. I don't know. I feel pretty good about the bullpen overall. Yeah, and then also, Mary Ellen, struggles is a relative term for this pitching staff. Yeah, I mean, even amid all of the struggles and all this stuff, Will McIntyre's got a 3.48 ERA. The team has a 3.12 ERA. Gage Wood's at 2.11. Cody Frank is even at 4.85, and it feels like that number should be higher. I mean, for the most part, it hasn't been if you're asking, is this bullpen is what it is what it is. It's very good. Let's see. Rooney also had the last 4 in and first 4 out, playing a 1-game play-in on Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah, I'm all for this, man. March Madness is crazy. I think they should try to copy it a little bit. I'm all for that. L says he likes Cooper Dossett, who had a really rough. Now he's one who had a rough go of it on Tuesday. Another thing about Cooper Dossett I want to read. So he has a 5.14 ERA on the year. He's thrown 14 innings. And that ERA is kind of sketchy, right? Gave up 4 runs the other day, which inflated it up a little bit. He's allowed 6 hits and he's walked 6 guys in 14 innings. So that's a whip under 1 still. But 8 of those 12 base runners that he has allowed have come around to score. So he's and a lot of them have come when he's left the game. Now the other day he built his own bed and he had to lay in it. But for the most part, he's gotten some bad luck on inherited runners, and when he leaves the game, the inherited runners always score. So his ERA is not his ERA of 5.14 doesn't really tell the story of how good he's been this year. And I feel really good about him too. I thought he had a nice little outing there against Florida. Fouch came in to close it out for him, but Cooper Dossett, stud, man. And and Mary Ellen says got to be Stone Hewlett. He hasn't had a bad outing really at all. Yeah, man, let's just take a little gander through the Stone Hewlett game log real quick. So his last outing was against Missouri State on Tuesday. 1 inning, walked a couple, struck out a couple, no runs. Goes 2 1/3 against Florida. Only faced 1 batter, but that's all it needed for Peyton Holt to do the deke thing. So that was an effective outing. He retired the only hitter he faced against South Carolina. He gave up a run against Texas Tech, which I honestly don't remember. Got the 1 guy he faced against Alabama. Actually, that's a lie. Gave up a hit and then gave up then got a guy out against Alabama. So I guess not a successful outing there. The night before, or on Friday, he'd come in and struck out the guy, got the save. San Jose State pitched well. Ole Miss inning in a third of an inning. LSU third of an inning. LSU third of an inning. 1 inning against Little Rock. Then third of an inning against Auburn. Third of an inning against Auburn. 2/3 of an inning against Oral Roberts. Third of an inning against Oklahoma State. That's a long stretch there of no runs given up. Now, I know these are not big sample sizes, but he's been pretty solid and just come in and get what you got going on, get your guy out, get your lefty out, and get out. He, given the contact, if it's a left-handed hitter with 2 outs, I want Stone Hewlett in the game. So does DVH. He's put him in there a lot. And then Megan with a good point. She says, as you said on a previous pod, you can tell pretty early on if Wood is on or not. That's 100% true. And so it's I think part of it is, and that's a challenge for any head coach, is finding out what position or what situations you can put certain guys in. I just read you Stone Hewlett's game log. They have figured out the exact right role for Stone Hewlett, and that's why he has a 1.54 ERA with 11 2/3 in there. Christian Fouch is another dude. They figured out exactly how they can use him. He's got a 1.23 ERA. He's pitching really well. Even Gage Wood's got a 2.11 ERA. DVH has done pretty well about realizing when he's got an issue and pulling him out. For the most part, it's worked out pretty well for him. Even Jake Farady's got a 1.08 ERA. He's given up one run this year, and it came in Arlington. And I know he had the struggle there against Alabama, the rough go of it, but that wasn't his run. But yeah, I think it's all about just you have all these pieces, figuring out how to deploy them all is the big challenge. And for the most part, I feel like DVH and Matt Hobbs have gotten to a pretty good spot with this pitching staff and kind of knowing when to deploy certain guys. They just need Will McIntyre to be better, frankly. And Orion says he would like to see Wood get a chance to start next year. I think he will have a chance to start. I think, Tuesday, obviously, first career, went pretty well. I would imagine he will get another chance at that sometime, whether it's a midweek, whether it's a whatever. I would imagine in the fall when they return, he will be one of the starting pitchers that they're using for those scrimmages. So yeah, I think he's got the stuff. He mixes speeds. He throws like 4 different pitches. He throws a ton of strikes this year. I think Gage Wood has the stuff and the makeup to be a pretty good starting pitcher. I would love to see that. H-Fan says that Aloy's brother has been playing shortstop. So yeah, if he's in 278 with 6 home runs as a shortstop, like that's a pretty solid year as a freshman. But that'll do. So yeah, we'll see. But then Megan says he is their DH. So who knows? Oh yeah, okay. H-Fan says that was according to our baseball broadcast. Oh, gotcha. Jonathan Brewer says, I get what you guys are saying, and I love Diggs, but play devil's advocate here. Any hit is better than for whatever. Well, yeah, no shit. If he doesn't hit, if he really doesn't hit for the rest of the year, then yeah, there will be a point where it's like, all right, we gotta yank him. But Diggs has played like 100 games at the University of Arkansas, and he has a pretty big sample size of like being pretty productive. Yeah, he can't afford to not hit forever. But I think he can afford to not hit for a few weeks, which is what he's done. Of course. If he didn't, like someone asked me on the last live stream I did, is it worth it to keep him in there with just his defense? No, it's not. He's got to start hitting. I just have a feeling that Kendall Diggs is capable of hitting down the stretch. I mean, we've seen him hit a lot. It's not like he's incapable. He's just clearly struggling, and maybe that's injury related. Maybe it's mental. I don't know, but. Let's see. Ryan McDaniel says Frank has thrown the 3rd most bullpen innings on the team. Sorry, 2nd most bullpen innings behind only Will. Yeah. So has Colin Fisher. Y'all need to stop confusing innings pitched for like mattering. No disrespect. Not saying Colin Fisher and Cody Frank don't matter, but neither of those guys have been pitching in high leverage situations. Like Gabe Gackle has not thrown, I guess he's thrown a little bit more than Colin Fisher this year. Yeah, Gabe Gackle has thrown an inning less than Cody Frank. But where those innings have taken place and the situations are very different. Stone Hewlett's only thrown an 11 2/3 innings this year. He's thrown less than Cooper Dossett. He's thrown less than Ben Bybee. He's thrown less than Parker Coyle. He's thrown less than a lot of guys, but it's like, I'm talking about the hierarchy in terms of like, games on the line, 4-2. Who do you go to? I feel pretty good about the guys that Arkansas goes to, which, no disrespect to Cody Frank, does not include him. Let's see. Flying Bengals says, I like Wood and Faraday in the middle innings. See a little butt pucker with them in the late innings. I don't, it's hard to disagree with what you're saying. I'm here you. I'm here with you. Mary Ellen Brown says Cody Frank has 4 saves. Okay, guys, we're going to have to just go through Cody Frank's thing. Cody Frank got a save against James Madison where he threw 2 1/3 innings in a game that ended 15-5 and got a save out of it. He also got a save against Michigan in that weird Sunday game where nobody could get anybody out and Arkansas made like 4 errors. So he gets a save there. He also got a save against McNeese in a game that ended 11-1. Let's see. He also got a save against Missouri State yesterday. These are not high leverage situations here. Like, I know that Cody Frank has thrown a ton, and I love Cody Frank. I hate that I have to even talk bad about Cody Frank, but you guys have forced my hands. He is not a guy that has been pitching in high leverage situations for Arkansas, nor has a lot of these guys that you guys seem to be worried about. I'm just saying, like, I don't think him being what he is, which is just a pretty good pitcher that can go out there and get outs, I don't think it's going to make or break Arkansas' season too much. So him giving up a couple runs yesterday to Missouri State just really doesn't concern me too much, frankly. Flying Bacon says, unless Andrew is going to give Gage the Matt Cronin slap before he goes in, so he pitches with that swag, maybe that's what it'll take. That would be nice. That'd be nice. And then Ryan says, I think Cody has been an important part of this bullpen. They have gone to Cody in high leverage spots. When? Maybe a little bit early in the year, but they haven't been using him in a ton of big spots. Like the Florida game, which he sucked in, he kind of came in afterwards. The Missouri State game yesterday wasn't like a huge high leverage spot. They went to him against South Carolina when they were losing, kind of middle innings, like 4 through 6. I think he's an innings eater, you know. Porkenstein said it best. He is middle relief. He is middle relief. That is what he is. Well, Mary Ellen, I had to go through the game log because I literally had him pulled up because I was like gonna go through it a little bit. But yeah, like, you know, he's pitched a lot, and he's a guy that they will go to eat up. I have my best friend Michael Beck. I'm going to use a curse word real quick. My friend Michael Beck always says, "Eating the bowl of shit." Sometimes, you know, when I was in high school, that's what my job was. When the game was like 7-2 and our offense wasn't going, and they kind of just needed someone to eat innings, that's where I would go in. Just kind of eat. Someone has to eat that bowl of shit. You don't want to make Gabe Gackle eat that bowl of shit. You don't want to make Brady Tiger. You don't want to make one of your top arms. You got to make someone. Cody Frank has a spoon in his hand at all times. He's ready to eat it. And he's done a great job eating it. And I'm saying this may sound derogatory. It really might. But it's really not. Like, I thought Ben Bybee, what he did yesterday, going 4 innings, was huge. Because if he doesn't go 4 innings, I don't know how Arkansas gets through that game yesterday. There was somebody else that pitched in the middle. Dylan Carter. Dylan Carter goes 3 innings in that game yesterday. Is that what he did? 2 1/3. That was really important. He gave up a few hits, gave up a couple runs. I thought he did a really good job of just kind of going out there, taking the ball, eating those innings. You know who was great at this? Cole Ramage, who y'all also hated, who also didn't throw in high leverage situations in his senior year, but y'all bitched about him all the time. And it's like, sometimes you just got to have a guy who will just go out there and take the ball and eat the innings that no one wants to eat. That's what Cody Frank is, man. That's what he's done. And he's done a great job at that. And, you know, I just don't think that it's you know, his success or failure is going to make or break this team when it all comes down to it. Let's see. Flying Bacon says, Frank and Matt give a good contrast to Hagan and the rest of the pen. Tough for teams to prepare for both. I think so, too. And I think matchup-wise, there's always matchups. You know, if you have this big right-handed hitter who doesn't handle the soft stuff well, you know, I think Cody Frank has a lot of value in that. He had an at-bat yesterday where he threw 5 different pitches. He was like change-up, curveball, and he threw some other, like maybe a slider or something, and then he flashed a little 89-mile-an-hour fastball. I loved it, man. He brings value in certain situations. I just don't think this is a guy we need to be like. We've already talked way too much about Cody Frank, on this podcast today. But he shaved his mustache. Maybe that'll bring another level. Let's see. PK Birdsong says there was one game in either Stillwater or Chapel Hill that seemed like Ramage just sat down everyone. He had a huge outing in Stillwater in the regional final. I want to say he came in. I think he got like 5 or 6 outs. But if you remember, Preston, there was a really huge back pick. I want to say he came in. It was like 1st and 3rd, or maybe bases loaded, and Michael Turner back picked the guy at first for I think either the 2nd out or the 3rd out. But it was a massive, massive situation. You know, I could see Cody Frank coming in and doing something like that in like the 5th inning of a regional. Who knows? But, you know, I just think like in some of these situations where it's like, hey, you know, go throw 3 innings and, you know, just kind of eat through it for us. If he gives up a couple runs in those situations, it's like, it is what it is. Guys, you know, I'm late again for lunch. Curtis and Scott, right as I was starting, Curtis came over and was like, "Hey, we're about to go get some lunch, man. I'll let you know where we go." I wish they wouldn't have waited until this, but I do got to get to lunch with my lads, man. Got to catch up. So, any last questions? Get them in now. I'm trying to think if there's any other announcements I had to make or anything crazy. I do want to talk just briefly about Kentucky's starting rotation. So the guy that they're going to start game 1, I'm assuming, I haven't checked their rotation because I also didn't know Arkansas's rotation when I started the stream. These announcements tend to come out while I'm on the air. But Trey Poozer is who Kentucky has been starting game 1s. the last few weeks for Kentucky. He's kind of assumed that role. He's a Charleston transfer. South Carolina also had a Charleston transfer, Ty Good, that pitcher that came in and really pitched well in game one. Apparently, Charleston had just a loaded weekend rotation last year because they had that kid at South Carolina who's good, and this Trey Poozer guy who's now starting game ones for Kentucky. Does not miss a ton of bats, but he's got like 200 innings worth of experience. Sinker slider guy, like 90, 91, 92 on the year this year. So he is, let's see, he's 3.75 ERA on the year. He's thrown 48 innings and has 48 strikeouts. Only 17 walks, doesn't walk a ton of guys, and opponents are only hitting 218 against him. He's kind of been their best starter here lately. Trey Poozer, Pooser. That is his name. He's been kind of their guy. Another one of those dudes where it's like might be a little fool's gold in his stats because he doesn't miss a ton of bats, but I actually think he's the best of their three starters. The other guys they've been starting, Dominique Neiman is a lefty who, like, on paper, you watch him pitch, lefty, 91, 93, mixes, has like 3 or 4 pitches that he'll throw, should probably have more than 49 strikeouts in 54 innings. Opponents are only hitting 257 against him, which is like a pretty high number for a SEC weekend starter. I feel like there's a little bit of he's due for some regression, and he's been getting that regression here lately. I think Arkansas could jump all over him, even with their lefties, as many they have in their lineup. And then Mason Moore's been their Sunday guy. Same kind of situation. He actually he might touch 93 here and there, but another guy that just kind of sinker, slider, 49 strikeouts in 56 innings. Opponents hitting 240 off of him. He's been somehow playing with fire and getting away with it all year. I think the biggest difference between when I look at Arkansas and look at Kentucky, especially with Mason Molina returning, is the starting pitching. I feel like obviously they don't have a Hagen Smith type of guy. They don't have a guy who they feel comfortable going tit for tat with Hagen Smith even, which at least some teams have that, although they don't throw them against them. And then, you just go on to the next option. I think Brady Tigert is substantially better than Dominic Neiman. I think he's a little bit more reliable. And Mason Molina, if he's able to be even 90% of what he normally is, you feel pretty good about him against any Game 3 starter. I think that's kind of the separation between these two teams. I don't know why I still have Preston's comment highlighted. I see my girl Hillary has pulled up in the chat. She must be on her lunch break. Hillary, how we doing? Has the Natty State cocktail been revealed yet? I'm not 100% sure what she's referencing, but I know this. I don't know how she knows this. There have been discussions at Tin Roof, which I will be at tonight, that there might be some drinks that have perhaps some Natty State flavor to them, perhaps Natty State names on them. There's been discussions about it. Tin Roof collab. So maybe how did she catch wind of this? I literally don't even think I've told her about this. Anyways, I'm rambling here now. Guys, we've gone about an hour 22 now. I think I'm about to hop out of here, go to lunch with my lads. So you have one last opportunity to throw your comments in the chat. But I appreciate you guys joining me for this beautiful series preview edition of the Baumbastic Podcast. Another reminder to go back and check out the other bangers we released this week. Especially that Hunter Holland interview. I really appreciated him joining me yesterday. And that was a lot of fun. I think you guys will enjoy it too. That guy's all hog, man. There's a lot of guys who only spend 1 year at Arkansas and they just immediately become like ingrained with the fan base, with the program. I was talking to Caleb Callie's dad, and he was like, man, dude, all he talks about is how much fun he had as a Razorback. And like, it's just, there's something special about being a hog, particularly a Diamond Hog. And, I think all these guys feel it, and that fan base and you guys being psychos and living day to day and doing all this, it doesn't go unnoticed, and the players feel that, and they really appreciate that. I think you guys will appreciate talking or hearing from Hunter Holland, who is a great Diamond Hog and should be remembered as such. I see Hillary doing some work in the chat here, but Jaron Garcia wants to know when y'all are going to be at Tin Roof. We will be there from 4 to 6. I'm probably going to head there not too long from now once I get done with this little lunch here that I've missed. But yeah, we'll be there from 4 to 6 for the John Neighbor Show. Might stick around a little bit after. Who knows? Might even see Hillary. Who knows? You got to show up and find out. You'll see Hayden because he said he's going to be there. So pull up at Tin Roof. It's the hottest spot in town. We will be there. The Natty State Sports Crew, kissing babies, signing autographs, all that good stuff. And, like I said, appreciate you guys for joining us. Reminder to subscribe, like, all that fun stuff. Tell your grandma, tell your aunt about the podcast. It's been another fun, productive week. And we will be back Monday for a little series recap. Does that sound right? Assuming they end up playing on Sunday, but who knows? They might not play on Sunday with the way these the weather seems to like to mess up our weekend all the time. But again, this time I'm serious. I'm getting out of here. Appreciate you guys joining in the chat. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It's been another edition of the Baumbastic Podcast. I hope you guys